I'm Ryan.
And I'm Talia.
We're both licensed marriage and family therapists.
And today,
like every day,
we're here to debunk myths
and deliver truth about dating, relationships, and everything in between.
Trust us.
It's awesome. Episode 89.
Is it really?
Yep, episode 89. I'm excited for when we get to numero 100 in the near future.
Yes, we've been doing this a long time.
Next year, I'll get to 100, yeah. I appreciate how long and consistent we've been working together on this, Talia, but I need more appreciation from you, okay? I need to hear a little bit more of what I mean to you. Please, and I'm batting my eyelashes at you. Please, 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 please.
Could your love language perhaps be words of affirmation?
In this moment, for this first minute of the podcast, it is. You could also just hug me to let me know.
Yes. Some nonverbal cues for appreciation and admiration.
There's my real love language.
Touch.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't think we mentioned that. I'm sure like back in the day when we were doing actual like love language episodes,
Yeah.
I mentioned the podcast, but I'm a huge touch person. What's that? But anyway, how do you need to be appreciated, Talia? Because I do appreciate you and us doing this regularly.
Yes, I think in my younger years, I would say I was more words of affirmation based. And I've noticed that a lot when people are working on self-esteem and self-worth, that they have a stronger maybe attachment or connection to words of affirmation being a love language, because it does foster appreciation and let the person know they're doing a good job and make them feel encouraged. And then I've at least seen this, once a person feels more of a strong sense of self, it's not that they don't appreciate being appreciated, but they learn that it's not the ultimate reason why they're doing something, or they are able to ask for their need to be met in another way that actually garnishes. Okay, I'm being appreciated and I'm being told that by being direct about, hey, could you tell me that you appreciate me? Versus what often happens is I'm going to do everything for everybody else or do a lot of stuff for you in hopes that I hear, I appreciate you. You're so helpful. You're so this. We try and get that need met indirectly. So that's what we'll also dive into today. And I'm so excited. When you brought this episode up, I was like, ding, ding, ding. This is perfect.
Yeah. But let's clarify, because I didn't even tell the listeners. But yeah, that's in case people haven't figured out. We're talking about this appreciation. For I don't think we have a lot of international listeners. I assume everyone's American. But at the same time, for anyone who is listening who is not of the United States, this episode is releasing the Sunday after Thanksgiving. Yes. So not, just thinking about stuff about what we have thanks and gratitude for. And then in the couples therapy world, about appreciation, and not just how to express appreciation, but also ask for appreciation, because that is an important need. And as you talked about, there's some interesting dynamics and ways that we go about trying to feel appreciated. So love that.
Yes.
So kick us off with where you already started at a really nice place, Talia, of noticing the different styles that we try to get that need met. We don't have to start there, but I think it's a cool place to start, since you already started bringing it up, that there is this fundamental need we have. And it is, I call it a relational need, as opposed to like a basic need in terms of like food, shelter, water, that kind of stuff. It's a relational need of feeling appreciated in our relationships, and just feeling appreciated with our most important relationship. And different ways to go about that.
Yes, often indirect. And I am, again, so happy you brought this up, because I have notebooks. I have everything pulled up to be making this the best episode ever out of all 89 that we've done. So let me pull up two of the notes here, and then we can. Here we go. I'm ready. So when we're looking at appreciation, and you did describe it very well, it's a relational need. So emotional needs, whether it's a romantic relationship or not. So this could be a need in any type of dynamic, but we primarily focus on romantic relationships. They're feelings or emotions that we need to be able to feel at peace, happy, and content, like our cup is full and like we want and we're motivated to continue the relationship, like a mutual reciprocity. Without these needs being met, we often feel frustrated, unhappy, dissatisfied, and resentful. So many people learn that their need is not being met through way of frustration, resentment,
Mhm.
etc., they often find kind of like the back door into realizing just how important appreciation and admiration of what they're doing or who they are is by the fact that it's not happening.
Yeah.
So I want to
I
lay that.
just feel like
Yeah.
shit, and
Yeah.
then I start paying attention to I
Yes.
feel like shit, as
Yeah.
opposed to in a different way going, "Oh, this feels so good to be appreciated," or before you start feeling like shit, noticing, "Wait a second, I want some of this contentment, this safety, this excitement,"
Yes.
and, attuning to that and keeping a good thing going, yeah.
Yes.
The
So
back door.
if you differentiate the first thing, and this is like a whole master class that I teach, but step one is differentiating between a want and a need, because we often task our partner with, I'm putting this in quotes, needs that are
Mhm,
really a want or needs that are really our role to fulfill, such as if I need you to tell me you appreciate me so I feel self-worth, that's actually very faulty. That's not going to last a long time.
right.
If I need you to tell me that you appreciate me so I feel close to you, thus fostering intimacy and knowing that I matter and I value in our partnership, that's different because it is more related to the partnership. It's not
Mhm,
filling some sort of void. It's enticing and ensuring that we will have a quality partnership because we're getting those needs met. So, step one, differentiating, do I just want this or will the relationship suffer without it? That's more of
yeah.
an.
Love that. And I might muddy up your steps a little bit here, but
That's
something I
okay.
wanna point out on that step is a lot of couples I work with will talk about their needs in such a specific way that it
Mm.
comes out as a demand or
Ooh.
a request. And I think a good way to differentiate, or the way I'm thinking about this, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but the way I'm thinking about what you're sharing is when you get really specific, that tends to be like what you want
Mhm.
specifically as to get the need met.
Yes.
And that can really pigeonhole a relationship. A need is a little more global. The need to feel appreciated can be met in multiple ways, and it's collaborative in a relationship.
Mhm.
So that's just one little thing, and I see you're on the same wavelength with me with your reactions that listeners can't see, but it's yeah, no, expressing, hey, I need you to do the dishes so that I feel appreciated for the dinner that I cooked up with those dishes.
Yes.
That's a want. That is a
Yes.
very specific behavior place. That
Yes.
might end up being collaboratively what a couple comes to have that need met. But I encourage couples to don't get pigeonholed in the wanting piece, a specific piece. Think more in the emotional space and the need space of I need to feel appreciated. And there might be multiple ways to go about that, which what we're getting into. But I just wanted to when you wants and needs
Yes.
where my brain goes.
Yeah. So wants, and I'm very big on linguistics. So a
Mhm,
want is a desire or an inclination for something, a desire to possess or do something or a wish for something. You can live without it. It doesn't mean quality of life is going to be stellar. You
mhm,
can live without a want.
mhm,
Needs are required because it's essential or very important, and relationships often cannot survive without needs being met. And the need to be appreciated, that is the functional need. The operational definition or the symptom of that is going to look different for each couple. So I break it down by the requests that we give on a daily basis. You need to do the laundry.
mhm.
Inanimate objects and things don't actually have needs. We assign them needs as a way to project our desire to control our partner into a thing. And if they do it, we feel like we're winning. There's a whole,
Yeah.
I could talk for hours about this. So if we're saying, like, you need to do the laundry or you need to do the dishes,
Mhm.
really the underlying need is potentially feeling like you have a partner, feeling
Mhm.
appreciated, feeling contribution, feeling equal value. Instead,
Respected,
yeah,
like
respect.
mattered.
I want you, or I would like you rather, to do the dishes. What do you need from me? Or what do you require of me? What could I do for you to get that to happen?
Mhm,
And we often see this in childhood family systems and communications. Coming home, like we've talked about, the it would be nice, the
mhm,
passively couching what
mhm,
one wants done in it would be nice if this happens, and then it doesn't get done. And then the person is frustrated. It's like, well, why didn't you do this? Well, you didn't ask. I said it would be nice. That's not a direct request. If you need in quotes me to do something for you that I otherwise don't want to, or
mhm.
view it as a need that it gets done, you got to give me something to get that. It has to be an equal transaction. The only thing, often the only thing that somebody gets by doing the thing another person wants is avoiding punishment. So if you doing the dishes allows you to not get yelled at, but that's the only thing you're winning at, you're not going to do that. That's not enough for you to feel like it's worthwhile to put your energy towards doing that.
Yeah,
Whereas,
it's only gonna inspire the bare minimum of
yes,
effort. Yeah.
yes, or the being yes, 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 I'll do it, and it not get done because I just need the noise to stop.
Yeah.
So if you do the dishes and I say it helps me feel more calm, more at ease, I don't come home as stressed, it increases the likelihood that we have more time to cuddle on the couch and have sex. That's a lot of winning.
Mhm.
That's all or oftentimes it's, "What do you need me to do for you to do the dishes? Can you just ask?" We forget the power of wording and being able to ask or request a need to be met, and this is, I think, where you see a lot of this in couples as well. I'm curious to hear your opinion. Many couples don't want to have to even ask.
Mhm.
You should just, and we've talked about this on other episodes, women are especially, notorious for this. "Well, you should just know. I know how to do that." The way that our estrogen-laden brain sees the world, and one of my favorite mentors mentions this, it's almost like inanimate objects are talking to us.
Mhm.
Like pillows just magically are like, "This needs to be fluffed." We are so diffusely aware and focused, we see all of these things that need or have needs, and we project our needs onto them, and we get frustrated we're the only ones seeing it, and then we have built up criticism and resentment that you haven't seen these things, that caveat we never asked you to pay attention to or notice.
Mhm.
You wouldn't if you're single focused, that you don't do that, and so we get so angry that we don't ask until the frustration gets so much that we have to do something about it for it to ameliorate itself. I just can't stand it. And that's why you often see these frustrated requests, or i.e. demands or ultimatums, because we haven't scaled that intensity of asking. You wait until it's an absolute demand. And I always teach, a request is a request. It's not a demand and it's not a guarantee, because other people will come in. They're like, "Well, I asked them." And I said, "No, you basically just asked slash demanded them, and you
Mhm.
got mad at them when they said no." Well, I asked, you still have to be able to hear the word no if you make a request, not plan your whole day around the person saying yes. And then you ask them and they tell you no.
Yeah.
The person is like, that is actually not the answer I rehearsed for you in your head. Could you please say yes? Because I already planned my day around this. Like,
Yeah.
there's so much to unpack here, especially about appreciation.
I'm gonna comment on one part of that, which is, in that dynamic of someone not asking for something to be done and then waiting till it builds up and then it explodes. What I wanna add to that is that's the danger cycle that when couples come to my office, they've already gotten into. And then because what gets worse about that is like, "Hey, can you please do the dishes?" The partner who's being asked to do the dishes has then learned whenever that request comes, it's a negative now
Yes. Yes.
because it's now been associated with anger and frustration with the request. So
Yes.
now you're more likely to like if I'm that person and all I hear is anger and frustration with, "Hey, do the dishes," I'm more likely to want to avoid the dishes in the future because all I associate with that
It's
situation is
negativity and criticism.
stress and
Yes.
negativity, and I'm gonna focus on, cleaning the patio instead of doing the dishes because I can go off in my own little world and it won't be stressful and whatever. Just
Yeah.
random example. Um, so that's one of the things to kind of reset our relational dynamic about is being able to request earlier
Yes.
things and have it not be encompassed with anger, frustration, and stress. And then that allows our partners to go, "Oh, yeah, I'm down. You just got to let me know." Because we're looking at different things. Our minds are focused on different things, and that's okay. To bring that full circle to the big point that I'm thinking about for this episode is that, yes, with appreciation, it's really important that we take some initiative to offer appreciation to our partners. But
Yes.
it's also really important to be able to, when you notice like, even if it is the back doorway where from frustration or discontent can
Right.
turn on, it is such an important skill to be able to softly turn to our partners and be able to ask for some reassurance that we are appreciated for who we are, what we contribute to the relationship, and that we're appreciated for all the work that we do. So,
Yes. So I have the perfect note for that.
mhm,
Well, I just lost it. I have it.
mm,
Um, and I also want to delineate the difference between appreciation and criticism
mhm,
because many people conflate the two. Appreciation is recognition and enjoyment of the good qualities of someone or something. So Gottman, other kinds of couples therapy would say this as the positive sentiment override,
mhm,
looking at things in the positive perspective, rose-colored glasses, etc., choosing to focus on what is going well instead of looking for what's going poorly. Criticism is the expression of disapproval of someone or something based on perceived faults or mistakes.
mhm.
Perception is in the eye of the beholder.
That's
So
a
if
key word.
I hold myself to a certain standard and I'm not yet done the inner work in order to not project that standard onto another, especially without them agreeing to it, such as thank you, manners. Not everybody gets taught basic manners when they're growing up. That's why parents are a huge influence when it comes to basic expression and intake of appreciation. When somebody gives you something, what do you say? Thank you. And I've seen this interaction pattern most of the time when I'm out, when a server puts down a food item, a drink, gets a refill, etc. And the parents kind of prompt the child by looking at, you see the sclera open on the eyes more. Thank you. It doesn't cost anything to say thank you. If we weren't framed or taught to do that growing up, or we never felt appreciated for all the things we were asked to do and never got said an appreciation marker afterwards. But parents do, parents have this expectation that children should do all of these things and do so happily because look at all I've done for you and look at all I've sacrificed. And that's the least that you could do for all I've done for you
Mhm.
without ever having to say thank you. What
Yeah.
you end up appreciating appreciates and grows more. So if I say thank you for doing something I asked you to do, I'm reinforcing the likelihood you will do it again. Whereas if the only thing that you're getting is avoidance of punishment, you're not going to feel motivated to be doing the thing when you're expecting the thank you and your parents are like, "What?" And you're like, "Aren't you going to say thank you?" And they're like, "Oh, wow, you're so ungrateful." And it turns into this whole spiral.
Yeah. That parent dynamic, like, I see that, a similar dynamic in couples relationships where, it can be really hard for one partner to express their appreciation to the other when they feel overworked or overburdened, or they perceive that they're doing more relational labor than their partner.
Yep.
Because, like, well, I don't if I they almost see it like they're losing the battle. If
Yes.
I
Yes.
appreciate that today you picked up your socks, then then somehow I'm letting you off the hook for not asking me how I'm feeling at the end of my workday. And it's this weird kind of tit for tat fight that can also get couples stuck where you're describing actually it's the reverse. If you start mentioning, I appreciate you picked up your socks, you are more likely to
Yes.
A, have the socks themselves picked up regularly,
Yes.
and on top of it, open up some positivity and connection to where
Yes.
your partner probably will ask you, "Hey, how are you feeling after work today?"
Yeah,
So,
and
just
so
a
many couples
dynamic to
such a good
avoid
point to bring up.
as
So
well.
many couples don't realize the power of appreciation
Mhm,
and the power of recognition. So, the frustration, this is like a little this will help with this whole appreciation thing. The frustration and resentment you feel from somebody not utilizing what you provided them or appreciating what you did for them is directly proportional to how much sacrifice, compromise, or the type of resource that it took you to provide said thing. So this could be time, energy, effort, money. Time is something that you can never get back or make more of. So that's often when people feel extra resentful, they're not being appreciated. I skipped this thing to go to this thing for you. And maybe the person never asked. So it's also related to if you did something that some for somebody that was done by your own volition or assumption that the other person needed it. You
mhm,
assumed the other person needed it or would like it. So you did it for them and they never asked you to do it. So why would they appreciate it? Your inner dialogue sounds like, well, you didn't send these other things that I interpreted as indications that you might like this thing that I did for you. So without you even having to ask, I assumed that you wanted it. So I went ahead and did it. And now I would like some appreciation back in return.
mhm,
How many and then I ask, and this is part I told you earlier before we recorded, it's part of my book.
mhm,
How many of you are projecting your own needs and wants onto another person as a way of modeling for them what you really want them to do for you. We often project onto other people what we want and need, and it either is insulting to them because they feel patronized or they feel babied, like,
Mhm.
don't tell me to do that, I know how to do that, or they didn't need it at all. And it's like getting a gift for something. It's like wedding presents. If you never put specifically on it and you got 50 mixers, by the 50th one you open, you're like, thanks. What the hell am I going to do with my 50th mixer? You have to be really clear about what you want or need, like a wish list. So you're getting the things that you actually want and you're being clear about it. So each time you go and do something for another person, ask yourself, and this every couple that I've worked on this with sees a remarkable progress with it. So free therapy right here. What is the purpose behind me doing this for them? Was it explicitly asked and agreed upon that I would do it? If yes, if the answers to those are yes, you can reasonably say appreciation could be asked for or given freely. If no, you cannot reasonably say that appreciation will at least be given freely or at most be seen as something that needs to be given, which harkened back to the problem of expecting and noticing appreciation for something the other person never asked for, but we decided they needed it on their behalf and almost interact with them as though they did ask for it.
Mhm.
Mic drop.
And
Welcome.
love
I
it.
just saved you years of couples counseling. So don't do something for somebody unless they want it done, or you doing it is truly for your own self and you are releasing the need for appreciation in return. You like it, you're not going to shit on it if it happens, but you're not doing it as a hope for, can I please have my appreciation now? But we, again,
Yeah, or
indirectly
like the
met.
way I interpret that is like if you're gonna give someone a gift, give them a gift because you want to give it to them, not because you want the accolades for giving someone a gift.
Correct.
If you happen to be thanked and
Yes.
appreciated for the gift, whether it's
Well,
polite or deep appreciation, bonus,
yes.
but don't just give a gift because you're trying to get something out of it. That becomes a selfish gift.
Correct.
And another thing I thought of when you're mentioning this is that one of the stuck places with couples is the dynamic of when one partner does something for the other or does it in a certain way and is assuming the other person should see it that way or offer appreciation or do that, it's because we get stuck in assuming the way we perceive the world and think about the world our partner does when we are actually very different humans. And it's all about remembering, oh, we can be very different. So
Yeah.
don't get stuck in having these expectations that your partner has to do and perceive things the way you do. Yeah, we say it on the all the time on the podcast now. You started it with us, and I just repeat it that we don't want to be dating ourselves. And it's
Correct.
very true. But we
Yeah.
have to remember that like even the way we think and feel about the world, the way we take in the world is different from every other human too. So
Yeah.
don't get stuck in that trap of, well, I'm upset because if it was me, I would XYZ and you do ABC, which is quote unquote wrong. No, we're different, and that's okay.
I taught this to my students yesterday, the difference between behavior and misbehavior.
Mhm,
Behavior is the way that somebody conducts themselves, and misbehavior would be acting out of accordance to what is acceptable to other people.
mhm,
And not everybody does the same thing for the same reason you would. So if I think video games are something done by burnout, stoners, losers, people who don't have a career, blah, blah, all these negative judgments that
mhm,
I've heard other couples I've worked with have, and the partner who's playing the video games is like, it's a way for me to socialize with my buddies I haven't seen in a while. It helps me feel like I'm winning at something. It helps me decompress at the end of the day, just like your glass of wine and bubble bath.
mhm,
In the beholder, the eye of the beholder, playing video games is misbehaving. It's
mm,
unacceptable to others, i.e., me. To the
mm,
person doing it who's in congruence with their own standards, it's behaving. They're not doing
yeah,
anything wrong. This is where the whole piece of appreciation comes in and expectations.
mhm,
Expectations are something that you should do without me ever having to ask for it. And that's some special kink that people feel like. And this an analysis translates back to this need or desire to be known by a partner in a way that almost mimics the mother infant relationship. And I have a little excerpt that I want to read after that. But I do have
mm,
some notes on a training I took that, and this is why Yelp exists. Expectations exist because something extremely exceeded it. So you hear about it, or extremely disappointed your expectations. So you hear about it. You don't see many 3-star Yelp reviews of like, it was a good meal. I'd probably go there again. You see people who are like, this was above and beyond. This is the best thing ever. Or this was absolute garbage. This business deserves to be shut down. You don't hear about them when they're met or met often. And that's where appreciating every little thing, small things often, and not to a patronizing level. It's not like, thanks for putting the fork away. Thanks for, I do that in my partnership, but we just have like an appreciation match of who can appreciate each other more. It is actually much healthier than any other dynamic I've been in, where you just stare at them wishing they were like you. If you appreciate something when it happens, it's more likely to happen again. So expectations are either something that I think should happen every time because I would do it, or it's just kind of a random occurrence, a happenstance, if you will, that it worked out that way. But if we're under the impression that it's supposed to happen that way and we don't think to appreciate it, the other person doesn't know if you want it or not. So they're not going to waste their resources on giving it to you if you don't appreciate it. If you brought me flowers, for example, and I was just like, oh, cool, never said thank you, never complimented them, put them in some corner of the house, what would your interpretation be?
Oh, I'm gonna save my $20 and buy chocolate next time.
Yes. Okay, I'm not going to get her flowers anymore. Versus
Yeah.
you give it to me and I'm like, for me, I love flowers. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Even if it's not the kind of flower I like, I can frame that and go, the thoughtfulness that you exhibited by giving me flowers is so cool. Hey, if you ever are into doing it again, could I have some roses maybe?
Mm.
And that's an indirect way of me getting the actual thing that I want. So we sometimes just shit on, that's not a clinical term, but it's my term. We just shit on the behavior because they didn't do it the full extent of how we would want it. I told you I wanted flowers. You weren't specific enough. If I told you to bring a salad to a dinner party, what would you bring?
Salad.
What kind?
No, I don't know. Actually, my favorite one right now, because of the fall, there's like an apple spice vinaigrette you can make, and then do like a really nice kind of like deep, earthy, like apple and like kale, something.
Okay, so if I wanted you to bring that to a dinner party, I was like, hey, bring a salad. But meanwhile, I wanted fruit salad. And you brought that and you set it down. I'm like, what the hell is this?
What are you
I told you
doing?
to bring a salad. This is a salad, but I wanted a fruit salad. You never asked me. You should have known. Do you see how this feedback loop starts to happen, especially with appreciation? I did this thing for you and I didn't ask for you to do it. Well, I did it. Okay. And I want you to say thank you. I didn't ask you to do it. So many couples fight about this because you're not clear on why you're doing what you're doing. You're operating on old subconscious beliefs that people just do these things and they should be appreciated for it. And we're trying to recreate and heal these childhood wounds that often existed, where we felt very unappreciated for being tasked with doing all these things our parents needed us to do with no appreciation in return. So we then mimic that behavior with our partners. I never got thanked for this. Why do I need to thank you? You should just do it. This is part of being in a relationship. Da, 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 da. And there's a lot of complaints and criticism.
Yeah. And I guess it's just to reiterate again, but what can happen, and yeah, I love the salad example, that can go on in this place is bring me a salad. Oh, you brought an apple spice salad, not a fruit salad. You should have known it was fruit salad. That can come from a previous discussion. Like, you know, when I say salad, I've told you before it's fruit salad.
That's different.
And they can get really frustrated in that.
Totally
Well,
different.
that is different, but I still think there's a compromise in that space. First of all, it makes sense why then the person said, "Hey, you know, when I say salad, I always mean fruit salad, and it feels hurtful that you don't remember or care about me. I'm not important." That happens,
Yes, I'm glad
and
you brought that up.
and I think that's a good place to say, "Hey, I'm kind of bummed that you don't, remember that." But if you just lean into the criticism of, "You brought the fucking apple spice salad, what are you doing?" That's not gonna
Idiot.
resolve anything, and it's
No,
still really important to give compassion, and remember, we are still different. So, if someone, even though it heard fruit salad in the past was like, that's the go-to standard for the family, but then heard salad, and that day, it was, "Oh, cool, I've got this really idea,
sure.
this, like, seasonal salad to try differently." Finding a place to have compassion in that, and remember, we are different people. We hear and perceive things differently, and let's enjoy that we're working as a team about something, and go ahead and clarify, "You know what? Actually, please make it a fruit salad," to or, "Thank you very much for bringing a cool, new, exciting salad. It's
Right.
not what I was thinking of, but in that kinda area." you can choose to be positive and collaborative and share with appreciation as opposed to hitting those hurts of, oh, I don't feel important or listened to, so now I'm going to criticize.
Yes, and criticism almost guarantees that whatever you're wanting on the other side of it is not going to happen at all, again or at all. So if I shared,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, this looks delicious," I just real and you can fake it.
Yeah.
So much of your relationships can be bettered by pretending that you're the nice person that you want to be, okay? I totally forgot to ask for a fruit salad this time. That was my bad. And take ownership of the fact that
Yeah.
you were unclear. That's why the need that wasn't met.
Mhm,
You didn't ask explicitly enough because you assumed the last 4 times. Don't make assumptions.
mhm.
Expectations are premeditated resentments, and assumptions are the fuel that conflict thrives on. Do
Yep.
not make assumptions. It doesn't harm you to double check and be clear, but most people don't want to be seen as needy, naggy, a bitch, a this, a that, all these other attributions we give to people who are very assertive and very clear. I would rather be seen as that and get my needs met and not fight a lot than be passive aggressive, a people pleaser, never voice what I really want, and only get angry when it's not done. Your choice. You have two choices in a relationship. You are very clear and thorough and appreciative, or you're angry, resentful, and bitter. Like, I see it very
Hmm,
black and white oftentimes.
what will I
Which one is
choose? I
better?
wonder. Both sound so, anticipating some of
Yeah,
its interesting situations. What do
yeah,
I want to do?
yeah. So I
Okay,
have, some
you had
I
an
work
excerpt you
with
were gonna say too, or
yes,
are you gonna go back to that, or
I'm gonna pull it up right
yeah,
now. I need to just find it because my computer is not as organized as I would like it to be. Screenshots. Hold on, we're almost there.
it's fine. And the one thing I did want to make sure we go back to is how to ask for the need of appreciation to.
That's what I'm gonna go over too.
Okay,
So
cool.
where is here we go. We're getting closer to it. It's from my psychoanalytic reading.
Mhm.
I know that I have it was more recent than this. Here we go. We're getting closer. Hold please.
Elevator music cue.
Here we go.
Oh man, I was just getting my
Physiological
song started.
sorry. I appreciate you helping me out with that. And I found the quote. Uh,
Wink.
Physiological changes in the individual and environmental responses stimulate psychic development, but such development may also be resisted. It may be possible to form an adult couple relationship without development that occurs through relinquishing the primary object and negotiating the Oedipal situation, but it will be fraught with difficulties. Intimacy, for example, instead of being based on knowledge of the reality of the separateness of the other and the wish to really know the other, can be based on an expectation of omnisciently knowing the other and or being known by the other, and experience closer to intrusion. Many couple relationships contain aspects of a regressive wish to be the infant with a mother who can provide everything, emotional, physical, and mental, often without having to ask. That is straight from the
Ah,
horse's mouth and all of my couples analytic training and the
yep.
training I've been doing for years. This is the foundation for a lot of the evolutionary psychology, the drive, et cetera, that I always
Mhm.
talk about. It's innate inside of you. And if you're not analyzing yourself and working on your own projections and identifications and object relations, et cetera, you will have a lesser quality of a relationship in your own perception because you're really trying to get much deeper needs met by way of utilizing your romantic relationship to heal or to reintroduce some sort of infant child relationship that either never happened or did happen. But you can't have that in an adult relationship. You were not, like we joke about, you were not raised in the same household as the person you're dating, hopefully.
Mhm. Hopefully.
You need hopefully, please don't do that. You need to
Best case scenario.
worst case scenario, you need to have an out loud conversation about who you are, who you think and perceive the other person to be, and what are those expectations, and stop only assuming. Only when you have had numerous out loud exchanges and agreements of your requests, your ideas, your assumptions, etc., can you reasonably say they should just know. If the last 10 times I have told you bring a salad, you've brought the Caesar, I've thanked you for it, I've reinforced it. The
Mhm.
11th time, I can rest on my laurels.
Uh-huh.
You should have known. The last 10 times you have brought the Caesar salad, I have told you this is exactly what I want. Please bring it next time. This is delicious. Then we can be curious,
Mhm.
what's going on? And I don't take it personally at the start. A request is a request. It's not a demand or a guarantee. If I request appreciation from you, but I'm willing to give nothing in return for you appreciating me, I am not likely going to have that need be met because you don't win at that. There's
Mhm.
nothing in it for you, there's everything in it for me. So it goes back to that egocentric, infant-like isolative quality. I want everything. I want all my needs to be met without having to do anything in return, but being a cute little bebe.
What j cute little bebe. Um, sorry, that cracked me up. But one thing I wanna point out is something that we point out, one of our themes, all the time is this is another opportunity to be curious. When there has been 10 times we've talked about it's the Caesar salad, you didn't bring it. Starting with, "Huh, what's going on? What's happening there?" And
I'm like,
having a
"Hey, really?
yeah.
Really?" Yeah.
Yeah, and seeing if there can be a deeper understanding about what's happening. A little tangent to what we're talking about, but I think a theme we always bring up, and I like to point it out. It's get curious. Don't get critical.
And I have a script for those of you who want more appreciation, so I'm gonna lay it on you.
There you go.
Very helpful. So the last note that I will make, at least on the podcast, about why we do this,
Huh.
it is largely related. The whole wanting and doing on behalf and hoping and besides the excerpt I read, we develop expectations based on childhood experiences or lack thereof of these experiences and utilize that as a blueprint when we interact with others in adulthood. And we anticipate what the other person expects of us by projecting onto them what we expect they'll expect of us. So there's a lot of expectations, a lot of
Mhm,
assumptions
mhm,
being swirled around. And we often don't want to have the painful reality that we won't omnisciently be known by another come to fruition. So we don't pierce the veil of it and we continue living in that delusion of projection, fantasy, etc. You
mm,
have to be in a real relationship with the person in front of you, is what I say.
mhm,
So when you are requesting more appreciation and admiration, you want to start from a level playing field, step one, and understand your role in it when you approach your partner with that. Hey, I want to have a conversation with you. It's a good thing. It's not a we need to talk. It's a really good thing. I came up with something that I think will benefit both of us in the relationship when works for you. Then sit down at the time that actually works for both of you. Don't just bull in a china shop your way into them in the middle of a work meeting and being like, we need to talk.
mhm.
Timing is everything when it comes to requests and conflict avoidance,
Yeah.
especially. So you need to take responsibility when you have this as a conversation. And this is what I teach my couples. I am responsible for projecting onto you blank, who you're comparing them to be, what template you're using. I have been projecting onto you this dynamic that I had with my dad growing up, where every morning he would cook me breakfast. And I understand I haven't shared that with you. And I realize that's where a lot of my frustration is coming from. That when I walk downstairs and that's not done, that's actually not about us. That's a me thing that I never asked you to do. And so I'd like to have a conversation, right? I'm already off to a great foot because I'm quote unquote the bad guy. So my partner's like, cool, I'm willing to listen. You doing what the positive behavior or thing you want is, you doing insert behavior here is what I want more of. I feel connected to you, admired by you, respected by you, understood by you, whatever the emotional benefit of that being done is. I'm rusty on the practice of surrender and being receptive because I'm still stuck in the pattern of trying to keep myself safe, or I'm rusty on the practice of taking charge and being somebody who gives this because I'm still stuck in a pattern of being emasculated. Sometimes when we interact, it's not actually what's happening, it's what I'm making it mean that triggers me. And I'm frustrated that my brain still goes to those places and sometimes views you negatively. I apologize. I take ownership. It's a me thing. I'm not seeing you for who you are. The bottom line is, I want insert behavior, more of that or less of that, depending, without me having to ask or fight with you to get it. I know that's all not always realistic. So that's why we're having an out loud conversation. I love you. I'm here for you. I'm on your side. And I want to help you help me and help me help you. So using that, you can go back and transcribe that if you want. Using that as a framework increases the likelihood because you're explaining to your partner, oh, holy shit, they have this whole other world going on inside of them that's making them view me in a way that is not real. It's kind of working with your partner on decreasing the hallucinatory effect that romantic
Mhm.
relationships can put us in, because this omniscient, omnipresent person, you'll be everything I want and more, is not real. There is a
No.
separateness and an honoring of that they're an independent self that must occur for a healthy interdependent relationship to happen, and one that includes being given and being receptive to appreciation. I have to practice what I preach. If I want more from you, I have to do that too. I can't be leaving my clothes everywhere and expect you to pick yours up. That's a control and a power thing like you were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
I had a few couples who were going through that. He leaves it everywhere. He leaves it this. Men do that because they're focused on the shower. They're throwing things everywhere because they don't need to. And if their mom reinforced that for them growing up by picking up after them, they never got to go look back at their trail of shit they left on the ground. So they think there's like a laundry fairy that just comes and picks it up. They need to leave it on the ground so they don't avoid it. Well, I don't want to step over it. You either have them do it and appreciate them for it, or you sit with the frustration long enough until they notice it. And I can tell you right now, ladies, sometimes it can take 3 weeks. So you need to
Jeez.
also be practicing patience and request in the meantime. Hey, it would really make me feel like you're contributing in the household, and then I don't feel as burdened and treat you like a dragon lady if we can both be better about doing our laundry. What do you need from me for that to happen? What can I do for you for that to be easier? You got to give to get, but so many people don't want that. They want to have an entire slice of cake, and then they want to have another entire slice of cake. So that whole phraseology of I want to have my cake and eat it too. Really, the linguistics is I want to eat my cake and have a whole other piece of cake too.
Yeah. What I love about your initial script and also these other,
Yeah.
like, examples you're giving is they're great, examples of collaboration, of how to come at this as a team in the
Yes.
relationship, not, me versus you in the
Yes.
relationship.
Yeah. You're not as
And
we're built as adversaries, but we're not actually adversaries.
yeah. And I think also, like, keeping that in mind can help allow partners to get out of the, or avoid a pitfall that, I'm the one doing all the work here and you're not.
Yeah.
That goes back to a common fallacy of assuming your partner is thinking and seeing the things you do
You're not the same
because you're not the same person. And then they aren't seeing everything you do, which is why collaboration is key to bring them in. And then also, guess what? If you're thinking of putting effort in a relationship, you're missing all the stuff they're putting in the relationship. Guaranteed.
guaranteed.
Yes, there's a very small percentage of relationships where there literally is one person doing nothing in the relationship.
True.
But I'll be honest, working with so many couples, I've never really come across that in my work. And these are very, distressed couples coming in, and that's a common complaint from one partner. But it's actually more you're not seeing the relational experience that your partner is doing and putting into the relationship. So collaboration's so key. I love that that's there. And remember, you're different people. You'll have things that you see differently. And that's one of the greatest places to start for appreciation. Hey, we're different. I appreciate these differences about us.
Mhm.
There you go.
And the couples that I see, it's it, I've worked with many kinds of couples, but this pattern that we've detailed today most commonly comes up in heterosexual couples. The woman, look at all I've done for you, look at all I've sacrificed. Very much so the Enneagram type 2 martyr complex that we see a lot in society, that was modeled to us often by mothers or grandmothers. The woman was at home doing all the work, the cooking, the cleaning, the children, the this, 90 other jobs. It's like 2 times the full-time job. They've done studies on how much moms do, or the stay-at-home parent primarily
Mhm.
raising the children do. We'll just generalize it. And they're so frustrated that they're not being appreciated for it. Women are far more verbal, even in brain structure, than men are. We're far more affected by the written and verbal word than men are. And we're not motivated by the same things. We are motivated by not being in the social out group. And in so doing, by being appreciated, by being included, by being connected to, we'll do anything to stay in connection. men typically are more motivated by accomplishment and winning and drive. It doesn't mean we can't be motivated by both, but if we start to understand this on like a primal innate level, if you are appreciative of what they're doing, and I work with couples on this too, not every person, man or woman, wants verbal appreciation. Their appreciation might look like not being nagged. Their appreciation might look like not being asked to do yet another thing because they've already done all these other things. So before this goes again, don't project, check to see, hey, how do you like to experience appreciation? What can I do or not do that equals you feeling appreciated? And it's going to look different for each person. Somebody might want an out loud appreciation. Somebody might want flowers. Somebody might want a housekeeper called to the house once a month so they don't have to do it. Be careful
A
and
hug.
mindful of the currency that you use and the language that you use around appreciation. You could have two totally different operational definitions from your partner. I might not want to thank you. I might want you to do the dishes in return for me cooking dinner. And I want that more than a thank you. A la childhood conditioning, where the parents would be like, all right, I cooked, you clean up. And you're sitting there like, what? I have homework. I didn't agree to this. Well, I went to the store. And then we start getting in a competitive bidding war of how much we've done for the person as a justification for them doing this thing for us. Well, I cooked, I cleaned, I went to work, I went to the store, I cooked it all of the least you could do is
Mm,
clean up.
yeah.
Do you think I'm going to want to clean up?
Hell no.
I'll leave the dishes there for a month. You don't even know my vindictive side. I can hold a grudge a very long time. I lift very heavy weights. You don't think I can hold a grudge? Because I can. You don't want to access that side of your partner where they become this defensive dragon version of themselves, needing to guard from connection. If you have that as an expectation, share it early and often. We don't
Mhm.
want to pierce the veil, though, of this juicy fantasy that we have with our partner in the beginning by sharing all that we really want from them that they may not be doing. And especially if we're in the conditioning of accepting the bare minimum, could I request that? This is fine enough. It's okay. I actually don't need all these other things. Yeah, you do. Because about 8 months in, if your resentment is building, 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 we can now see that you might have been neglecting a lot of those needs along the way because it was quote unquote okay enough or this'll do. You're
Mhm.
allowed to ask for your needs to be met. And in fact, I almost request that people do this more so that the real selves can have a place to come out. If you never want to cook me breakfast, let's say you and I are dating, if you never want to cook me breakfast and that's something I deeply desire in a marital partner and you're very staunch of like, look, that's never going to happen, either we both lose, we come to some sort of compromise, or we're just not a good fit. The earlier you can say these expectations kindly and be firm about them, the more you can see, can your partner be that person to meet your needs? And that's part of this talk that I give as well about what if, because I know some people are going to be listening and they're going to be saying, what if this doesn't work? This is when you need to be able to understand your partner might not be able to meet your need. And if you're using the script and being clear, that increases the likelihood. And if they don't, that's a time for couples therapy. So that's
Yeah.
what I would recommend. If you go through all of this stuff and it changes you, great. If you go through all this stuff and that person is still stuck in their ways, this might be a time for couples therapy or choosing a different relationship. That's my end note.
That's a different piece. But yeah, if you can't get through that, then
Yeah. Be
absolutely go
appreciative,
to the
be
next place.
grateful. What you say thank you for, you get
Communicate.
more of. You have a superpower, use it.
Yes, we love that. Um, cool. Thank you everyone for listening. But I say that even deeper now on
Yeah.
today's thanks. Appreciate all you listeners and keeping this podcast going strong for 89 episodes. Hope everyone
Yes.
had a
Let us know if
wonderful
you
gratitude filled weekend.
Yes. Let us know if you want any other future episodes. Send us an email, Ryan and Talia at thecouplesguidepodcast.com, or you can tune in for my weekly Q&A on my Instagram at Talia Bombola.
Thanks everyone. Take good care.